Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and this is a special series during this COVID crisis where we'll be sharing the learnings, best practices, and failures and successes of all the channel leaders throughout the tech industry. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have Neil Murphy from Bytes Technology Group with me. How are we doing, Neil?
Good day. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really good. Really good. So Neil, as I've said, I've done COVID to death, and it's not really something I'm really enjoying actually speaking about now. I think so many people have spoken about it. So what I'm really interested in is what you as an MD and how you've navigated through this time are going to do both post-COVID. So my sort of first question to you really is, as we're coming out of this, or hopefully going to start coming out of this, what do you see as the main sort of opportunity for Bytes Technology Group as we move forward?
Probably getting on the beach first before the Germans do. So we're going to commandeer a couple of aircraft, fly everybody out to Spain quickly, put those towels on the beach. Yes, right. Yeah, you're right. C-19 is throwing a right spanner into the works. Because as you probably know, we're planning on listing the company later in the year. So we'll see how the next few months goes as to whether or not that happens or not. I think firstly, our priority going forward, our customers are in ship-shape condition. Now, the problem is, I think some customers are just not going to recover from this pandemic. And actually, when I count the number of customers we've got today, it'll definitely be a smaller number, I think, in a month or two's time. And I do think, actually, it'll take a good few months for some of this stuff to filter through the system and for some companies just to not recover or to be different shapes and sizes. And so, we need to be prepared for a different sort of landscape from a client perspective. And what will come with that is different sorts of requests and different sorts of behaviours. And I wish I knew what that was going to look like right now, but I think we're all in the game of sort of double guessing next moves and what the landscape's going to look like. But I think it's fair to say, for our company, for Bytes, we're in a pretty good position to continue to provide our customers with good products and services because we're a broad-based, value-added reseller. So it's not as if we're dependent on one particular line of products or solutions. We've got hundreds of different things to provide our customers with. I think a priority for us is what is the new working regime going to look like? Frankly, we've got 600 people in the UK, and there's about 6 of them working in the office today. So a very good experience in terms of working remotely. Very happy with the resilience of the systems we've got and the security of those systems and so on. Not so confident about the mental well-being of many of those working at home. I think some of them are going absolutely bonkers, cooped up in small apartments and small houses with screaming kids and no gardens, for some of them anyway. And, so I'm a bit concerned about some of the individuals, being frank with you, but I think as the lockdown eases off, whenever that will be, I think what we'll find ourselves doing is continuing with the sort of flexible working regime to accommodate people as and when they feel confident about moving back to the office. So we're definitely not going to demand anybody comes back to the office. They can carry on working from home for as long as they like. I don't really mind, because the last 2 months have shown that business hasn't really suffered as a consequence of people not physically being in the office. So that's quite reassuring.
Has your customer interactions changed? I know you've got security division. You've got some product lines that are going to be really peaking right now. Remote working solutions, agile IT, security, etc. I suppose you've got loads of demands from that. But are you seeing any other peaks in any other areas?
We're doing a lot of sort of whiteboarding and sort of consultancy at the moment. People are trying to work out what their businesses need to look like in the new business environment. So yes, we're certainly supporting customers who are trying to beef up their security, their firewalls, their VPNs, customers putting more workloads into the cloud so they're less reliant on their own data centers. So we're seeing a lot of that. But in terms of new solutions, you know, that there are obviously new cyber threats that customers are coming up with. Well, not coming up with themselves, but are being presented with. And so, you know, the threat landscape is definitely changing. I mean, the Internet of Threats, as I call it, rather than the Internet of Things. You know, the Internet of Threats seems to be becoming sort of a more of a minefield for customers, for them to navigate. And every week there's a new vendor out there with a new solution to try and combat a new type of threat. So, you know, just keeping customers on top of all these different threats is becoming a big part of our business. I mean, security for us last year was about £100 million turnover operation. So, you know, it's getting bigger and bigger and more important. But I think what customers are looking for, though, is certainly our customers are looking for sort of specialists in niche areas. So they're turning to companies who can provide great advice around the cloud or great advice around security. That may not be the same reseller. It might be different partners and different resellers for different solutions. And, you know, that's fine with me. You know, they do need to get all the help they can to make sure they're comfortable with their new systems and so on. So I do think that's also going to spark potentially some more consolidation in the reseller channel, as some of the stronger ones get stronger and some of the weaker ones sort of fall by the wayside, or deliberately go and seek out mergers and acquisitions to strengthen their balance sheets and so on. So I think we're going to see quite a lot of change over the next 12 months. But, you know, in terms of resilience, that's going to be sort of front of mind for business users and for customers. So, you know, if anything, we're going to be talking a lot more about business continuity, about disaster recovery, security. These are all quite key themes of our business anyway. But yes, in terms of behavior, we've been very much more consultative with our customers. I mean, they've not been able to get out and go to meetings, so they're always available. So the great thing is you get great quality time with your client, and you can explore all sorts of opportunities for them and ourselves in not a confrontational way at all, but in a consultative, supportive way. You know, we've gone out of our way to make sure our sales guys are supportive as opposed to salesy. You know, the emphasis being on customer care, helping them, you know, hold their hands through a very difficult time. So I think what the sales guys have recognized is that, you know, they probably sell more by trying to sell less, but by being more helpful. Yeah, lots of different experiences. I mean, I must say we've had a lot of what I've noticed is we've had a lot of thank you notes from customers throughout this period as we've got them out of various holes at short notice, and provided licenses, you know, when they needed them to help their operations and so on. So
yeah, because it's funny that the pace of technology is so quick now that, you know, it's impossible to keep up with it. You know, so many vendors, so many different, you know, mobility, IoT, you know, whatever it's security. It's impossible to know everything. And when that information's coming at you from an end user point of view, it's possible to make the choice. You know, because at the moment I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm an end user customer myself. I obviously buy off resellers, and I'm seeing a lot of landing pages and webinars and lots of information going out there from partners, which I didn't see before, which I think is a great thing. I think it's a great thing, but it's still that need to be, you know, we talked about being a trusted partner or advisor from salespeople before, but now more so than ever, because at the moment, lots of people are in panic mode. They don't know what to buy. They don't know what security they need. They don't know what infrastructure they should be having. They don't know what processes. So they're actually looking from partners to do that. Do you think, I mean, you mentioned consolidation. Do you think there'll be lots of consolidation and actually partners working more together, i.e. niche specialists, i.e. maybe not for you, you're more, you know, you've got those divisions, but if I'm a security partner, I will go and partner with a mobility partner or whatever, or networking partner or whatever it is. Do you think there'll be more consolidation and partners working together?
I do see, I've seen that for quite a while actually, that sort of trend, you know, of sort of co-opetition as they call it, don't they, in terms of, you know, getting a whole load of partners working together in a sort of an ecosystem. A lot of customers actively encourage us to work with one or two of our sort of traditional competitors in order to provide them with a complete service. So, and actually, collaborating with competitors, actually, I've got great relationships with some of my competitors in terms of we share ideas and thoughts and occasionally, and it's always quite a cathartic experience knowing that they're thinking they've got the same problems we have, So,
yeah.
so unless they're kidding me, of course.
But I do think you off the track.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do think right now growth is going to have to come through innovation for resellers. The more innovative we are, the more creative we are, the better. And I think we need to try and persuade our customers that they've got something to lose by not engaging with us. And I think that's our challenge. And now these days, what with staff being furloughed and customers maybe reducing headcount, we've got to show them ways where they can reduce their licensing spend, for example, which is a big part of our business, optimizing volume licensing spend through players like Microsoft and so on. And their customers will be looking to reduce renewal spends. So I think actually, we're going to come under a bit of pressure, I think, in terms of things like margins, for example. I'd imagine customers are going to be more determined than ever to look at their pricing arrangements with partners to make sure they're getting the best possible value they can out of their suppliers. So I think we're going to be in for a bit of a tsunami of price checking and benchmarking and all that sort of painful, very painful stuff. But on the other hand, if we can demonstrate good value and show loyalty and commitment to customers, then they'll keep coming back. I mean, and then a good example there is, we've had quite a number of customers ask us for extended credit terms throughout this pandemic, and of course they've been loyal customers of ours for donkey's years. We have helped them out wherever we can, and I think they'll remember that, and they'll therefore keep coming back to us. So when a customer who's normally on 30 days really needs 90, and you give that to them and you give them 90 days, we don't want to make a habit of it because it's not good for cash flow. But where we've got a customer who's in the airline industry who really needs some help, then we've gone out of our way to make sure we've looked after them. So I think what we are seeing with many customers is loyalty. That two-way loyalty, and I think that'll pay off at some point in the future, definitely. So I hope so.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing that quite a lot. I think people are naturally being kinder and more helpful, etc. I think it's a worldwide problem, isn't it? So it's not just it isn't even industry specific. Obviously, some people are suffering more than others, but you've said the airlines, travel, retail, etc. But I think it's a worldwide problem. One thing I was interested in, and I'm not saying profiteering, but there is an opportunity to grab customers from other companies, etc. Because maybe they won't be able to deliver on their what they could say they could deliver on the expectations, or they've got stock issues, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that as a potential? With your sales staff looking at it and thinking, well, there's going to be end user customers that have gone to their regular supplier, they can't get kit in the market, or they can't get the renewal on licenses, or whatever problem they have, that would be open to look at an alternative supplier now. How is your sales guys looking at that as an opportunity? Yeah,
I've not seen much movement in terms of customers moving from one partner to another. I think right now the customers are dead keen to maintain existing supplier channels. So that's one less thing they've got to worry about is going with an unknown partner, an unknown supplier. So we've not seen an awful lot of that during this period, I must say. So I think they're more concerned with just understanding the supply chain. So it's an interesting one. That I think maybe further down the line, depending on how this pandemic works out, you might see certain sales teams get a bit more hungry, I suppose, for new business. But I'm pleased to say at the moment, we haven't seen a tail off. In the first 2 months of our new financial year have gone really well. I don't really like saying that because I feel like a bit of a vulture because we've certainly seen increased sales because of the pandemic. Having said that, we've also seen many projects fall by the wayside because of the pandemic. So I'm sort of rough calculation that one is offsetting the other. I do think though that moving forward, if you look at the next few months,
customers who are planning on implementing large transformational projects, I think they're going to review those very severely. With a view to listen, do we need to do this project now? Let's review our whole IT landscape. So, I think some of those larger projects are going to be up for grabs, or they're going to be reviewed with a view to downscaling them or downsizing them, they'll look different completely. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of that going to happen.
Yeah. So, one of the questions I wanted to ask, it was going to be hopefully still an exciting year for you guys, but it was going to be a really exciting year. Listed and your growth plans, etc. Have you had to sort of adjust your plans in terms of like growth expectations, targets? This listing are you reviewing all of that, or is it still trying to sort of keep them on track?
Yeah, interestingly, we had the option at the beginning of March to review our budgets downwards.
Okay.
And we chose not to. We chose to keep them as originally planned back in January. And that's proven to be the right thing to do for us. Even though many of our sales guys and sales managers were asking the question, those very same sales managers and sales guys have outperformed since asking that question. So I'm pleased with that. I think that looks like Europe certainly will start to ease out of this lockdown during June in a meaningful way, and then so I think we'll have a lot more confidence and positivity building out from June onwards. And I think customers, they're going to have to review their entire IT estates at that point in a serious way, and that could help with some further growth. So if we have a good H1, so our H1 ends by the end of August. If we have a good H1, by good I mean if we have, say, a flat performance year on year, I think that's the equivalent of good in the current environment. Then we'll probably look to list in October, November time, providing the market and the financial sector and the banking sector and the stock markets are functioning normally by then. And that's a big if, of course. But if that's not the case, then we'll probably look to list around April, May time next year. So we're not precious about an actual listing date. So we'll see what's thrown at us and how things progress, and then just make decisions based on the cards we dealt with.
You mentioned obviously the listing was a big thing for this year, and obviously they're planning maybe you'll push it back, etc. Is there anything you've sort of, and again I don't want to go into COVID, but I almost want to go into what you've learned and what plans you've got. Is there anything you've sort of learned from this process and this time that we've had that you will now adopt ubiquitously throughout your business? Or you mentioned straight earlier, you said about coming in, you won't make the staff come into the office, you'll give them the option, etc. There was a lot of firms that weren't doing it. It was almost like 9 to 5, you can't do. There was no flexibility. So is there anything you've learned thinking actually this has been a good thing to learn, and I'll actually adopt it moving forward for Bytes?
Yeah, it's funny, that very thing. And we were that prehistoric animal that was very anti people working from home.
I was.
It's funny, isn't it? I myself, if people are out of sight and out of mind, then what they're up to.
Exactly.
So I for one would be hopeless working from home. In fact, I'm working from the office. It's just around the corner from my home, and we're getting constant deliveries every day. So somebody's got to be here to sign for the laptop. It's me. Right. Multitasking. I'm also sorting out the post every day as well. Because there's only 4 of us. Yeah. There's normally, in this building, we have about 300 people normally, but there's only 4 of us here today. So I am doing the post, and I'm throwing out all the old milk, and I'm taking deliveries of new laptops and so on. So, brilliant. And I'm sort of sorting out the monthly P&L and this, that, and the other. So what I've discovered is that, our staff have been, I'll tell you what, they've exceeded my expectations. When everybody started working from home, I thought we'd encounter all sorts of difficulties of an unforeseen nature. But everybody's buckled down. The British mentality has been absolutely fantastic. I can understand what people mean about the sort of, the blitz sort of mentality. When people are under pressure, that they perform incredibly well. I think we'll probably get some casualties from a sort of, a well-being perspective. I do think people are going to need a bit of extra help after this, and so we are putting in place some plans to help with counselling and sort of mental awareness. We've already done for managers from a sort of an awareness perspective for that type of stuff. So I think some staff will need a bit of help, and we'll coach them through that difficult period for them. But yeah, immensely impressed. I think one thing we're definitely not getting staff back to the office in a hurry because things are working so well as they are. But I want to give people the flexibility to come back, and a lot of people will want to come back as soon as they possibly can because of their particular sort of living conditions, for example. So yeah, I think we've learned a lot, and the pandemic has accelerated the sort of value actually that we see, not just in our staff, but it's accelerated the sort of value we offer to our clients. I think they've come to realize there's a lot more to us as a reseller than just shifting licenses and software, and
which is great, Neil, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been there when they've needed us, and I think that's great. That's good. That's good for the whole channel, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I've said this to most of the guests. I think the channel was not just performed well, it exceeded expectations really about getting people still stocking the market, people in the warehouse shipping goods, getting those services people out there. When I was speaking to Mike Norris, and he was sort of saying to me from a security point of view, he was delivering 1,500 laptops, but to 1,500 addresses. Where's where's let alone the sort of GDPR around that. So, to make sure that the business continuity for all those customers, I think it's been fantastic. And also the collaboration within the channel, I know it's very competitive, and I know that, but I think it's been great that the channel's really pulled together. And you know what? There are a lot of unsung heroes in the channel. Actually, I know everyone goes on about the NHS, and that's extremely important in saving lives. But I think if the channel hadn't have done what it's done and really pulled together, there would have been thousands of casualties even before now. And I know there will be. I know. Obviously, companies will, go under. But I think it could have been much worse if the channel didn't react. So I think it's kudos to everyone in the channel.
No, I agree.
My last question for you, Neil, and I know you're not the world health expert, etc. But I'd like you to give a bit of a prediction of what you sort of see over the next sort of 3 to 6 months for Bytes and the channel in general.
Cool, good question. So first of all, for Bytes, I think that what we'll see is a flat sort of business performance year on year. I don't think we'll see a drop off, and I don't think we'll see any particular growth. So I think we'll see a good steady performance. The company will come through this in a very strong position. We've got a very strong balance sheet. We've got plenty of cash in the bank. And with our profits in this first part of the financial year are higher than last year's, and last year was a record year. So financially, very sound. All of our key suppliers are in good shape too, so that's good. So I think from a company perspective, I'm comfortable with the next few months. And then when I look at the entire channel, I worry about maybe some bad debt issues with certain organizations and how that might play out and how that might affect particularly the distribution channel. But I think it's a pretty resilient group of companies. I don't see an awful lot going by the wayside. I think you might get maybe one high profile business, but I think on the whole, the channel should come out of this in a pretty strong way. The one concern might be that, demand for sort of hardware and so on may have peaked in this last month or two. But I do think actually as a consequence of what customers have experienced, I think a lot of them are going to be refreshing, actually, maybe not right now this year, but they're going to realize the importance of having good equipment in every member of staff's home, and they're going to have to make sure that all the systems are resilient and secure. So I think after the next 3 months have gone, I think you'll probably see quite a buoyant period for the foreseeable. It's a buoyant old market anyway. I think it'll continue to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, even from my own company, I'm looking at it. Almost came in waves. You know, the first wave was, oh my God, we're working from home. Let's just grab anything, desktops, etc. Then it was almost like, actually, this is going to be more permanent. Even if we do go back, it's going to be more permanent. But I'm almost thinking about now. I'm almost like, actually, I do need to plan to go and get 20 laptops or 20 desktops agile working or more robust systems, etc. So I'm with you. I think as we come into maybe not the summer months, but September, definitely, I think there'll be a lot of companies out there thinking, right, I need robust systems. I need agile IT, not to just be called agile IT. It needs to work, and it needs to work seamlessly. Because if you haven't got that, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you haven't got that, you're going to be in real trouble. And I think that's been proven for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. Neil, you've been a fantastic guest.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.